How are we broadcasting it all? Keep mine messed up so people figure it out a little bit.
Think you what?
I had a friend one time, he was redheaded, and he was just a great guy, but he was very vain about his hair. And he had that thing wrong. And he would curl that thing around, and he used to buy A&P hard hose. And I'll never forget, he'd go to the beach walking down with the wind blowing, he's like this, trying to make sure get it right.
That's too bad.
I got 1 o'clock, is everybody okay?
Yes, sir.
This meeting of Sumter City Council will please come to order. We open every meeting with an invocation and our pledge of allegiance to the flag. Out of respect to the diversity of opinion and beliefs in our community, we will begin this evening's invocation with a moment of silence during which each of us will be free to pray, contemplate, or not, as each person wishes. After this moment of silence, Councilman David Merchant will pray in accordance with his faith. Councilman Merchant, we can all stand, please.
Let us pray. Dear Lord, we thank you for this day. We thank you for this beautiful sunshiny day, and just that the rains that came yesterday were beneficial and not damaging through the potential hurricane. And we just thank you for safety amongst all of those it's been in contact with. And we do pray for our country as there's still civil unrest around our country. We just pray for peace and for unity, and for just that many can settle differences civilly and peacefully. And we just pray for our president, our governor, our local leaders all around. Just help us to, and in this council, to make decisions that are best for our community. And we just ask you to be with us as we consider the people's business. Just give us wisdom and just help us to make the decisions that are best for all. All these things we pray in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Okay.
Sumter is blessed to have a strong faith community and so many churches and pastors and members who chose to respond after the terrible occurrences in Minneapolis by having a gathering of all people to stand against racism and for working and living together in a way that is beneficial to everyone. And I see Dr. Clay Smith here. I want to thank him for the leadership role that he and Reverend Newton took in bringing together, what was it, some 70 or 65 pastors. And they devised a statement which I think is very, very strong, but very, very meaningful, and something that all of us can take to heart. And I guess I recognize you, Dr. Smith, to make your presentation, if you would come to the podium.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I also want to recognize Mandy Easton, who's a creative pastor at Alice Drive, Todd Fleming, who is the executive pastor, James Lessingen, who's also one of our leaders, and of course, Councilman Hasties, one of our clergy persons as well. We have a statement that the Sumter leaders worked diligently on, and we wanted to do this so that our community would know that we want to envision a community without racism and with as little violence as possible. Our pastors feel like this is very much in accordance with the gospel that we preach, and it is our hope that council will choose to display this in a prominent location so that visitors to our city will know what kind of community they are joining. They are joining a community where our value is to come together, not be divided and come apart. And so I will not take time to read the statement. It's been well publicized, but we would like to present this to council now. And I do not know the best method to do that.
Matt, what do we need to do? Can we have them here and us standing up here? Can you get us all? Okay, just come right.
Smiling behind the mask. You're not smiling.
Okay.
Thank you. Have those plans in the work. We will.
Yeah.
The pastors of the community are continuing to meet together to think about what our next step is going to be. We want to be sure that we are taking a moral leadership role for our community and continue to call our community to be the best it can be. And so we'll be sharing more details as our plans gel and take better form.
Well, on behalf of the city and city council, I hope you'll convey to all of your fellow ministers our appreciation for what you've done. The march was a truly meaningful and wonderful event. I think many people went away feeling that we can solve problems here in Sumter that need to be solved. And we appreciate all of your leadership in moving us in the right direction and keep us moving in the right direction. And we will put this in a prominent spot within the Opera House.
Thank you very much.
Thank y'all very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving into old business, we do not have any ratifications of boards and commissions. We do have some vacancies. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, we do need to approve the minutes of our regular meeting, July 2020. Is there a motion that we approve them as written, or do changes need to be made?
So moved.
Second.
Marching moves, and Mr. Hasty seconds that we approve the July 21, 2020 regular meeting minutes as written. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. And they are approved. Now, we will move to old business, boards and commissions. You did get one name for consideration to serve on the City of Sumter Housing and Economic Development Corporation. It does require it is a classified position. In other words, you have to satisfy certain qualifications to serve in that position. And Mr. Gaines has certified that that is accurate with this person, so she can serve. But we'll maybe discuss that later. So I'm going to move on to the emergency ordinances. Darren, anything you need to tell us about these two?
No, sir. They're just to extend the time on those particular measures that you've already previously passed. So the first one pertains to electronic meetings and measures of city council's meetings, as you've done before. This is just extending what you've already passed.
Okay, is there a motion that we continue ordinance 2690? Excuse me, 2685?
I move for approval of the extension.
Stacy moves, Mr. Lowry seconds. Is there discussion? I will ask, we're going to continue to have the meetings where we have a public input in the downstairs.
That's correct, and that'll be consistent with those advertised public hearings. So since we'll be spread out and down there, we'll also be able to do the public comment as well. So we'll keep that on the second meeting with the schedule, and the first just like today.
Okay, motion's made and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. It is approved unanimously. Next, we have ordinance 2691, which amends ordinance 2686, which extends the ordinance beyond its expiration date. It pertains to postponement of meetings of city boards and commissions, or an alternative to postponement if public health concerns can be reasonably addressed. Anything to add to that, Mr. McCormick?
No, sir.
That would be for Planning Commission and all the other bodies that are meeting. Is there a motion?
Have those other boards been meeting?
The planning-related ones have been, the others have not, but what if you remember when we passed this, kind of delegated to my office to make sure if we can meet in a safe way. So I would see the smaller boards meeting soon, much like today, as long as we're spaced out and safe. And so it kind of gives us the flexibility to do what we need to do with those boards and commission meetings. But the planning-related ones are all meeting separated downstairs in the Opera House with people getting their temperatures checked and all the other precautions.
Is there a motion?
Move for approval.
Second.
Lowry moves and Mr. Merchant seconds. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. And it's approved unanimously. Next, we have first reading consideration of an ordinance to adopt the 2020-2021 CARES Act, which is the Coronavirus Aid, Relief, and Economic Security Act. It's in the amount of $183,585. We've previously discussed this, but Mr. McCormick or Mr. Gaines, do you want to recap it for us?
Yes, sir, I'll be happy to, and I'd ask Mr. Gaines to correct me if I'm incorrect on any of this, but the 20% would go to administration, and the health services would be the balance. And as we previously discussed with council, would be serving the low-income areas by HUD's definition with not only the large bottle of sanitizer, but also mask, as well as when we deliver that, we'll have good information in writing from the CDC, as well as other beneficial things like the census and issues like that to everyone that's in the low-income area of the city as defined by HUD rules.
I believe there are some almost 6,000 such households that are defined as low to moderate income.
Is that right, Clarence? Yes, sir, it's between 55.
So we will be reaching a lot of people.
Yes, sir, that's the hope and the desire, and keep people safe as well as healthy and safe, and also educated about what we've been hearing over and over, just to make sure that people are safe and healthy.
And most people probably understand this, but this money is just like some community development block grant money we get every year. It is limited in how it can be spent and where it can be spent. And it is very, how would you put it, the cities have to be very accountable. We will have to, I think, get somebody to sign for everything they get to be able to establish that they live and are who and where they're supposed to be and who they are. Does that make sense? We got to make sure we're giving it to the people that are entitled to get it. And we have to prove that. And we have to do that on every dollar we spend of federal money like that.
That's correct. It must meet a national objective, and Clarence, keep me straight on this, but either to benefit low to moderate income individuals, low moderate income area as defined as, which is what we're using here by the map of the low income area, or to relieve slum and blight. What have I missed? There's another national objective, but that's generally it. Is so if we can identify these particular areas within the city of Sumter where we're accountable for these funds, we think we can make a difference with that and hopefully build upon this effort like we have with other things. So
And what we're hoping we can do is, as people come in to get these things, we can reaffirm and educate about the CDC guidelines, how to use a mask, why you should wear a mask, and
I think it might be interesting for the public that we discussed this before the uptick in more people started talking about masks and before there was a mask ordinance, just because there's, it was a useful tool of which, how do we get sanitizer? It was very difficult to get at the time. So this, we hope, will not only help with this virus, but also everything else that we come in contact with. So we certainly hope this will be beneficial for the low, moderate income area of our community.
I want to thank Mr. Gaines and you and your staff, because I know people may think you just go out and buy this stuff, but it wasn't that simple. You got to find a mask that'll work on children and adults. You got to find, and I believe, Mr. Gaines, I think the big sanitizer thing, how many pushes did you say you get out of that? 800? So that's a good thing. Is anybody else? Or is it,
Mr. Mayor?
can we get a motion first, maybe?
Oh,
Yes, sir.
Hasty, you moved.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Corley, seconds.
seconds.
Okay, discussion. Mr. Hasty, I think you were first, and then Mr. Corley.
I'm happy to hear about the education piece. I think that is just so important that we educate our citizens why it's important that they wash their hands, why it's important that they wear their masks. I'm sure a lot of our young people don't understand, and I'm glad to hear that that's a part of the program. One question I have you all decided how we're going to distribute to the public?
Yes, sir. What we're gonna do is, distribute from each one of the Hope Centers.
Okay.
We'll probably do it on alternate days. We sending out postcards to all the residents in the low-mod areas. They'll bring in their card. The cards are in that particular area. We'll put them in a database so they can't hip-hop over all the centers. So each family get 1 quart of the spray, and each family get about 5 masks.
Is it based on income of that family? Anybody, like I live in one of those areas, I assume.
Yes, sir. So by the rules, and correct me again if I'm wrong, but by the rules, we're mapping the area, so we'll have known addresses, and everyone who receives will have to sign for it. So we'll have a signature associated with an address that associates back to the official low mod income area.
Okay, that's good.
And that's the difference between using the area versus actually income qualifying each individual, which would be an ungodly task, yeah.
Okay, thank you, Clint.
Question.
Corley,
Oh,
and then Ms. Dwyer.
okay, go ahead, Mr. Corley.
You've answered most of my concerns. I'm wondering if we could do a little advertising also, because, people get stuff in the mail all the time. Some just reminders on the radio or the newspaper, or maybe, I don't know what the administrative budget has to go for, but maybe we could use a little bit of that for advertising, just to be sure that the Ward 1, 2, 3, and 4 can be aware that this is available, and the dates, and just kind of reminders. People need reminders. Thank you.
My thing was if we contact the churches as well, and they could assist us with this. They have a lot of programs where low-income people participate and whatnot. So if you can let Jehovah and some of the other churches, know, I think it would be most helpful to the community. Thank you.
Working with local churches, distributing it out there, putting it in the newspaper, and I'm working with our communication director, Shelley, and we're gonna get together and we gonna put it on Facebook, we're gonna put it out there for mass human consumption.
But my thing is, you got to think about the people who don't use Facebook,
Exactly.
not computer literate. So that's where some of the churches will come in and trying to help the community be knowledgeable.
Any other questions, Mr. Gaines? Thank you, sir. Any other comments?
Thank you.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. And the ordinance is given first reading unanimously. Next, we have consideration of first reading of an ordinance to rezone property on US 521 and Beckwood Road. Ms. Rubin?
As you'll recall, last meeting, this had the public hearing, but first reading was deferred. The original request is to rezone this approximately 193 acres from planned development to general commercial. Since first reading, the applicant has met with the neighbors and also spoken with myself to talk about an alternative to general commercial. So what you're actually looking at today and what you received in your board packet is an updated staff report to actually rezone the property to limited commercial. Just to go through this is a 192-acre tract. It's at the intersection of Beckwood Road and Camden Highway, and it's just north of where the new gas station has been built at the intersection of Alice Drive and Camden Highway, and it's sandwiched between two neighborhoods. It is in the priority commercial mixed-use area of the 2040 comp plan, which is supportive of some sort of commercial designation or a mix of commercial and residential, where form and design are really a focus in the project. It is zoned to planned development and has been since 2005. When it was originally approved, it had a very narrow scope of allowed uses, and you'll see those listed there right below the first bullet, which were primarily related to nursing and personal care, a cemetery, church, school, and residential uses. There's been no development on this site in the last 15 years. Currently, the property owner really only seeks to develop about 57 acres of the property, and this rezoning is being sought to break that planned development so that they can give optimal flexibility to the future use of the remaining land, which it is their intent to sell. To answer some of your questions from the last meeting, this is what the original concept plan was for the planned development. It was going to be a kind of encompassing Catholic community with multifamily, single family, the church, school, and some playing fields. The original planned development was actually approved with a strip of land that connects to Camden Highway as an access point in 2005. It could today, if it were to be rezoned, be used that way still if the applicant chose to pursue that, even under the planned development standards. This is the portion that the church intends to retain. They're keeping that 57 acres or so where they would intend to eventually build their new church, which they do have the funding to do right now with the associated parking, with future plans to move their existing Catholic school facilities to that property as well, with associated playing fields. The plans for any residential uses developed by the Catholic community have gone away, and so this is the extent of what they would intend to develop on their portion of the property. One of the issues that came up in the original meeting had to do with traffic on Beckwood Road in particular. Just as a point of clarification, SUATS has recently applied to revise the functional classification of Beckwood Road to elevate it from a local access to a minor collector. Doing this reclassification actually has impacts on how federal highway money can be used on that road, so that will improve the design and pavement standards on that road over time, regardless of whether this development happens or not. Additionally, any future development on this tract, whether it's commercial or residential, would have to abide by our traffic impact standards requirements. So if it does trigger the need for a traffic study, then we would require that at time of development. Generally, with a traffic study, any mitigation measures that are recommended as a result of that study, we require to be implemented as part of the design process. Planning Commission originally recommended rezoning this from PD to GC, but the applicant has since amended that request to limited commercial. Staff is of the opinion that this still allows them to pursue their ultimate objective, and we do find that limited commercial is supported by the 2040 plan. I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have. You also received, I believe yesterday, a letter from the church noting their meeting with the adjacent property owners and the outcome of that discussion.
Any questions of Ms. Rubin? Is there a motion?
I move that we accept the proposal, limited commercial with all the stipulations as presented.
Motion's made. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Mr. Corley, seconded by Mr. Davis. Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. And it is given first reading by unanimous approval. Next, we have consideration of final reading of ordinance 2692, which deals with property on US Highway 15 South at Pacala Springs. Ms. Rubin,
There have been no changes to this request since first reading.
is there a motion that that ordinance 2692 be given final reading?
Move for final reading.
Second.
All right, Mr. Hasty make the motion and Ms. Dwyer second. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. And ordinance 2692 is given final reading unanimously. Next, we have consideration of final reading of ordinance 2693, which deals with a planned development at Sumter West on Patriot Parkway.
There have been no changes to this since the last reading. I will note that the applicant has asked council to reconsider the stipulation for a muted sign to allow them to use their corporate colors. Planning staff really has no position on that one way or the other. We do not have any color restrictions in the highway corridor, and we really haven't implemented any color restrictions elsewhere within the PD.
Any questions of Ms. Rubin? Is there a motion?
Move for approval.
Second.
Lowry moves to Mr. Merchant, seconds that we approve ordinance 2693. Is there more discussion, or is there discussion?
Mr. Mayor, I thought the muted sign did sort of upgrade the building a little bit in that neighborhood. And I know you can't see it from the road, but we're dealing with a neighborhood that's fairly established, and I know we have these everywhere, every corner you seem like you have another Dollar General bright yellow signs up. I'm a little concerned about giving them an exception on the
Well, the ordinance has the muted sign, correct?
The ordinance that you gave first reading to has the muted sign. The one that you have in your packet still has the muted sign. I just bring up that the applicant had requested that you reconsider that condition.
Thank you.
I'm happy to go either way.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no.
And so this was approved with the muted sign as you had in your original packet?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Ordinance 2693 is approved unanimously. Next, we have consideration of final reading of ordinance 2694, which relates to property on the Camden Highway.
There have been no changes to this request since first reading.
This is a change from R15 to R6. Is there any questions of Ms. Rubin?
Is there I know the developer's here, is there a demand for the smaller size lots and the smaller size houses? Is that what's driving this?
I can defer to Mr. Knowlton, but in my experience in the last 15 years, there has been a significant demand to get as many lots as they can, so lot size really does drive the development because it makes the units more affordable. But certainly Mr. Knowlton is here as well.
You want him to comment on that?
No, I think it's great, because retirees and single people, and I think the demand, I think you will sell these. There is a variety. You can go from, 6,000 up to 15,000 or something, but most of them will be in the smaller range. Thank you.
Anyone else? Is there a motion?
Move for approval.
Second.
Davis moves, Mr. Corley seconds that we give approval to ordinance number 2694. Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. And it's given final approval unanimously. Thank you, Ms. Rubin.
Thank you.
Moving into new business, we have a procurement resolution number 799 concerning a contract on East Liberty Street for water improvements. Mr. Harris?
Mr. Mayor, council members, you have in front of you the information on the bid for this line replacement from Harvin to Lafayette on Liberty. We had one bid. You probably remember not long ago, we bid this project also, but we found the contractor was not prepared to do it in the manner that we had requested. He started, tried, and lost a considerable amount of money, and we let him out of the contract. We rebid it throughout the state, as we normally do. We followed all our procedures, and we handed it out to all our local contractors. We only received one bid, but the bid being $214,060. The low bid last time was $204,282, and it ranged up to $270,000. So I think we got a real good bid. We've got a very good contractor who understands what we're requiring on this project. It's really all about keeping traffic flowing on Liberty Street throughout the entire process of the project. We've got to do that, keep the businesses operating, keep everybody happy. So we thought it was in the best interest of the city to rebid, and we've done that. We think we have a very good price, and I'd like to recommend to y'all at the price of $214,060 to award the contract if you'd like to do so. If you have any questions, I'll be glad to try to answer.
Any questions for Mr. Harris on this?
Yeah, well, Mr. Harris, of the 204 last time, how much did he collect of that? Did he?
He collected nothing. He
Okay, so
lost.
he did.
We paid him nothing.
Okay, okay.
He lost about probably $15,000.
I didn't know if he got a draw or two in.
No, no,
before.
no.
Okay,
We would have reacted totally different if we had paid him any money.
sure. Understand.
Any other questions? Is there a motion?
Move for approval.
Mr. Corley moves and Mr. Lowry seconds that we approve Resolution 799. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. And it is passed unanimously. Council reports.
I have one, Mr. Mayor. if you don't
Yes, sir.
mind. This week is National Farmers Market Week, and of course, we have two within the city limits, sponsored by the city, so to speak. We encourage you to come out to both. I've been to the one downtown the last two Saturdays, because we have one on Manning Avenue from 2 to 6 every Friday. As a draw this time, we will have a martial arts demonstration there in the grassy area behind the market, and they're for children 4 and any age of adults. So please come out and visit us if you can, from 2 to 6 on Fridays. Thank you.
Anyone else? Let me just say, I know all of y'all have gotten information from Mr. Stoddard concerning the census. In terms of how we stack up with the state, we're doing okay on responses to this point. Nationally, we're not that far behind, but I heard this morning they're moving up the closing date. And we really need to, if anyone, anyone else has any influence to get people to report their information to the census, now's the time to do it. And our folks will be making a final push on that. And Mr. Stoddard, Colonel Stoddard, he's done a tremendous job, put together a great and diverse census count group. And I'm thankful, with all the problems we've had with this census, I'm thankful that we were as prepared as we were. I know Colonel Stoddard is disappointed because he didn't get to pull out all the stops he had, but I keep telling him if he hadn't had us as ready as he did, we would not be doing as well as we are right now. So please, if anyone can encourage folks to file for the census, please do it.
So he was even at the farmer's market the last couple of weeks, signing folks up on their phone. So he's really going all out to try to sign people up.
Anyone else? City manager's report, I think you got a special report for us, Darren.
I do. Mr. Mayor, members of council, I would like to ask Ms. Shelley Kyle to talk to us briefly about the All-American City process we're in.
Good afternoon. Yes, I wanted to touch base with you. I know we talked about this earlier in the year, but due to COVID, we've had a lot of, I guess, hiccups when it comes to the All-America City. So this year, they decided to take it completely virtual. So the team will not be going to Denver as we do, or did last year when we won a finalist, but we have been named to the top 20 finalists in the country. One of 20 cities named in the country out of, we haven't found out this year how many cities applied. Last year, we know 555 cities applied for it. So it's usually 500 and above, but 10,000 cities are eligible to apply for this each individual year. So anyway, so this year, their theme, I guess if you will, is enhancing health and well-being. And our application really focused on healthy bodies, healthy minds, and humane housing. The summary of our project is that we were promoting health by increasing access to health care and fresh food by combating obesity, promoting a healthy mindset and securing security for youth and seniors, and offering a variety of options for the housing insecure. So we have a lot of people that are part of our presentation delegation this year, including members of Sumter United Ministries from the Sumter School District, the YMCA, Santee Lynch's Council of Governments, Tandem Health, and including of course, members of your Team Sumter from both the city and the county, as well as Clemson Extension. So we have a practice tomorrow. It was our last practice before we go officially, I guess if you will, live. We do have a practice with All-America City next week where we'll be going with their staff. And then on August 17th at 2 p.m., and in your packets, you should have something in your packet up there already. You're going to see on the back side there's a full schedule, because this is an All-America City conference. It's not just a presentation. It's not something we just go and do one thing. So the entire team and city council are eligible to participate in this conference. So there's lots of opportunities for you to go in, and it's all via Zoom. So sometimes it's a panel discussion with presenters. Sometimes it's just us, city representatives, talking to other city representatives, finding out what they're doing in their communities, what projects they're hosting. So we are going to be hosting live, and we're going to make sure that I'll share this in an email once we get the Zoom live, the link. We'll share that with everybody, so you guys can go on August 17th to see our presentation, as well as watch other cities present and be part of the conference itself. And then on Wednesday, August 19th at 5:30, that's part of that 3 dates on the schedule that you have before you. That is their award ceremony. So that's when they will award each. There'll be 10 cities that will be chosen out of the top 20 that will be given an All-America City designation, I guess, if you will. And that's a forever designation. So we get to keep that forever. It never goes away. We can put it on letterhead and water towers or whatever we want to put it on. Many cities do it different ways and represent in different ways, but it's something of honor to have for the lifetime of the city of Sumter. And by the way, I keep saying city of Sumter. This is a Team Sumter effort. So this year's application, we checked off on the list whole community, which means the county as well. So this is, the county is part of this as well, because we talk about the penny, we talk about recreation, we talk about several programs and services that we offer that we don't do just by ourselves. We do, again, all inclusive across the whole county. Questions? Happy to answer anything.
And my limited experience with this is, I know years and years ago, one of the reasons this is probably the fourth time in the last 20 or 30 years or 40 years we've applied for this, maybe the fifth.
4 or 5 times we have applied, and we've only been this is the third time we've been named finalists. So 3 out of 4, not bad.
And but one thing that I've noticed that enhanced your application was if it was a community-wide, and with the cooperation we have here in Sumter, we felt that was something we needed to emphasize. And my understanding is that the city and the county will be able to use the logo. They'll be a All-American County, and we'll be an All-American City.
Yes, for 2020, we'll be one and or the other, or both. We can use a combined All-America City / county like we do on some of our offices.
Yeah.
So it's really up to us to use how we would like.
But I think that decision probably enhanced we did fine last year. I felt like we should have won it last year, but I think this adds a little bit of oomph to our application. I hope so.
Well, I would certainly recommend anyone. We are going to have a live link we're going to share via social media as well, because this is all online. Our entire community can sit and watch in our presentation, as well as watch the presentations that are given from others and participate in the panel discussions and everything. So we want people to be able to contribute from our local, community, as well as just sit and listen, because it is such, I keep telling the team this year that I'm really upset that they can't go to Denver, because that is such an experience to go there. And you're there with 20 other cities that have anywhere from 10 representatives to 100 representatives, and they share so much. And it is this wonderful opportunity to go, and you just forget all about what's happening on the national side, and you really see the effect that local communities are having on their residents and their citizens, and the programs that they are presenting there are just absolutely phenomenal. So really encourage you guys to participate in this as much as you want to. We're happy to, I'm happy to direct you to any particular sessions. There is one particular session that happens on Wednesday afternoon where the cities actually talk to one another. So we have a designated time as City of Sumter, or as a Sumter community, to meet with 3 or 4 other cities. And it's just our council and our delegation sitting down and talking together and just sharing more details about our programs and services that we offer.
Shelley, I know you've been our captain, and appreciate all your hard work, not just this year, but last year too. And I don't know if there's any other folks you want to recognize so council realizes who's been.
Well, my entire staff has been a rock star for both years, as well as many city staff, and I could not do it without all the delegation we had this year and last year. I mean, these are our stories. I think Matthew put it well when we were talking to the team the first day, and he said, we don't have to write a script for your presentation. This is what we do. This is what they do. So they're just there being honest and sharing what the Sumter community does. Sometimes we take it for granted that we've been, I know last year we sat and we're listening to all these other cities and they have these great programs, and some of them we've never had before. A lot of them we have. We've had for years happening here. And we just took it for granted because we've been doing it for years. So this really is just sharing that everything that we've been doing and been on the forefront of all those services and programs for many, many years. So, but yes, there's a ton of people. I probably don't have time to thank everybody, but the entire Sumter community takes credit for this as far as I'm concerned.
I think I felt last year we followed the rules literally, and it might have hurt us a little bit because, like you said, that other cities would mention things that didn't directly, fit in, but they just were saying, hey, we got this, we got that. So I hope we'll probably do a little bit more of that this year. But I thank you. Any questions of Shelley? Well, thank you. This would be a huge honor for the city and the county if we can get to the final.
And I did want to share with you one last thing. Typically, when we go to Denver and you go there, where they have these things called cultural nights, and kind of like a trade show night where the cities set up their booths to really sell your community, talk about what's going on in your community. So we did actually make pins this year, and you've got one before you. These are our little Sumter pins that we were going to take with us to Denver. Instead of being able to share those with all the cities like we typically do, because you typically go like a trade show booth and you have them like in a little basket and they're free for people to come up and take. So we sent a care basket or care box to all the other cities, the mayors, representatives of their city, a care box to them that has a Sumter pin in it, as well as some Sumter products, some different things like Savor the Flavor and some other products that were donated to us from different things, and then just to give them a little bit of a local flair. But we are the only city in South Carolina this year that's represented at the All-America City, so it's something to be very, very proud of.
Yes.
Thank you again. Anything else, Mr. McCormick?
No, sir, I did want to echo what you said about the team. It's been a huge effort, and it's particularly difficult this year because with spacing, as we've talked many times, just trying to get away if you're in town is near impossible because people locally pull on you. So it's been a huge effort to pull this together, but also to make it happen when you're not removed away from all of the normal day-to-day things. So definitely want to thank our staff that's worked so hard on it, but hopefully there'll be an opportunity afterwards to celebrate somewhat with all the folks who are really involved with it. So I do want to say thank you.
And I do want to add one thing, and I know I talk loud enough to hear me. One of the things that we could do this year is actually submit a name for a youth award. So there was a young lady who went with us last year who is an emerging leader. She's also very involved in school
Whether she wins or not, I think she should come before council so we can thank her.
Okay, we have reached the end of our agenda. I have not been told that we need an executive session. The only reason would be if you wanted to approve someone for the Chodo, but I think my recommendations could be that we try to find, Mr. Gaines, if you could help us, let's find one more that community representative and try to make it in a different part of the city, you know, in the qualified area. And we need to find one financial representative, Ms., what's her name? The lady at NBSC, she's been holding over forever. Melissa, yeah, Boo White.
Blue White.
So with that, if there's nothing else, is there a motion? Anything else, Mr.?
I think you made mention before, you mentioned all the good work with the census. Dr. Blassingame again is here, and he's one of the co-chairs, so I want to thank you for all you've done as well. But I think that's all we've got right now, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Unless y'all want to talk in public, so is there a motion to adjourn?
So move.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Corley, seconded by Ms. Dwyer. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. And we're